So this training video is going to be on the Adtactix Dashboard. We've got a lot of new improvements. It should be a pretty quick video. We're just going to show you how to import all the different kind of keyword harvesting sources, and then we'll expand each section here and talk a little bit about how this tool can best be utilized within Adtactix. So before we get started, you're definitely going to want to head over to the Settings tab, and in the Supplemental Reports Hub, watch this tutorial here. It'll show you how to import all of these supplemental data sources. The ones we're mainly going to be using in today's video are the impression share reports, the search query performance, brand analytics. We won't actually be using this for the Adtactix dashboard. We'll be using the keyword Dominator import, and that's about it. So these are the ones, if you're just focused on the Adtactix dashboard and keyword harvesting, you would want to use. All right, so you need to watch this tutorial first to kind of learn how to set up the tool, sync your bulk file along with that supplemental data. So that is step one. All right, and then when you first start using the Adtactix dashboard, it's going to be completely blank. And I guess before I start importing some keywords, know that this tool can be used kind of independently. So you can just paste in a list of ASINs in this column and corresponding keywords in this column. And one use case for that would be if you want to quickly look and see if you're already targeting a list of keywords in enabled campaigns, and you'll be able to see within products, brands, and display, how many times you're targeting those in the different match types. So that's a pretty good use case for just kind of the manual copy and pasting ASIN and keyword lists in here. Outside of that, the most kind of efficient way to get started is just going to be to use kind of these quick add keyword harvesting options. And as you can see, I already got my search term report kind of already synced here. So again, you need to go and watch the import video I referenced here earlier to kind of learn how to get to this stage. But this is the very common state that you want the tool in when you get started using any of the additional tools within Adtactix. So that's where I'm at right now. I've got everything synced. I've got my supplemental data sources already imported in the background. That's kind of handled in step two. All right, so now I'm ready to use the Adtactix dashboard. So I'm just going to hop into the dashboard, and one of the best ones that you can work with kind of on a weekly basis is going to be your search query performance. So literally you just click the button, and as long as you have your search query performance data already imported, it's going to recognize that, grab any of those ASIN keyword pairs and drop them into this table. The whole goal of this table is to really centralize all of your keyword source data and help you plan for future keyword launches and things of that nature. So that's really the goal of this tool. You can see centralize your keyword data and launch new campaigns fast. So we'll talk about the bulk campaign builder, how you can use that alongside the Adtactix dashboard here to quickly build out campaigns. But you can see some data populated here in the background when we added our search query performance. So I'm going to add a couple other keyword sources here really quick. Just know that they all kind of work the same. You're basically just pulling the data from the keywords in these tools into this central dashboard. So I'll click on brand analytics next, and we'll import those. All right, so we've done that. Now let's hop over to our search term reports, and instead of selecting everything on here, I'm just going to pick some based on some filters. So I'm going to sort our search term report Z to A. Now, for the sake of just this video, I'm going to add keywords only. You could also add the ASINs as well, and you can add ASINs to the Adtactix dashboard. I'm just going to keep it kind of simple and just add keywords. So I'm going to filter for keywords there, and I'm just going to grab anything that's got like 10 orders or more, and let's just make sure we at least have those on our Adtactix dashboard. So I'm just ticking the boxes in this case, and then I'm going to come up to search terms, push search terms to Adtactix dashboard. That's literally just going to move these ones that are ticked. So an important kind of thing to know is there's only ever going to be one ASIN and keyword combination on this dashboard. It removes the duplicates if you accidentally add kind of ones that are already on there. So again, the whole goal is to centralize all our data, kind of understand from a priority list the next set of keywords that we want to launch into our PPC. So now that we have those sources on there, some other more advanced ones is the Ingram. I'll go over that kind of at the very end. Let's do a keyword dominator export really quick. So keyword dominator, that's a standalone tool we have that you can use to look up 9 of your competitors plus your product, which will show up here kind of in this first section. There's a lot of kind of benchmark data, and it's really meant to help optimize your listing and kind of see from a rank standpoint and search volume standpoint where your target keyword list can kind of shake out. So you can use all this data to ultimately build out this final keyword list. And what's nice is you can take a special export from Keyword Dominator and import it into the Adtactix Dashboard and help use that then to do more kind of keyword harvesting and campaign launches. So to do that, you're basically just going to kind of prioritize this list. You very easily could just dump in all the keywords from this list if you want, or you can obviously kind of filter things. And the idea is you're going to check this box here in this column and kind of just pick the ones you want. I'll just go anything kind of greater than 1,000 for the search volume. All right, and then the trick though is you want to make sure you choose Adtactix from this drop down, and then you click this button to generate this special export. It's going to actually send the file to your FBA export files folder, and you're going to need to move that file into your Adtactix new folder, which that helps with the supplemental data import. So I'm going to actually do that process really quick so you can get an understanding. But right now it's just kind of saving the export here. So you can see this is kind of what it looks like with all the columns. All right, and you can see your file has been saved in the FBA Excel export files folder successfully. So I'll hit OK. All right, so now let me open that folder up just so you can see it. All right, so if you go into your Drive account, this folder will be set up automatically when you authorize all the FBA Excel tools. And this KD underscore, and then it's got the ASIN, that's going to be your ASIN. This is kind of what it's going to look like. So what you're going to want to do if you want to use this export to actually import into Adtactix is just right click on it and then do organize move. All right, and then you're going to go to your Google Drive. So you're going to go there, and then you're going to go FBA Excel Tools, Adtactix, and then Adtactix Data New. That's where you want the file to go. Now you can see that this file is in the correct location. You could do this for multiple ASINs. You'd have multiple Keyword Dominator copies set up and then just gather the data, get your keyword list, and then export this special file. You'll see the other kind of supplemental report types that we cover in our Supplemental Report Hubs video that I referred to earlier. You can check that out again if you want to learn how to import all of these. But this Keyword Dominator one's kind of the one we're just going to import independently right now just to kind of see how that works. All right, so Supplemental Reports Hub, you can import anything that's basically ticked here with the little box. I'm just going to keep this one checked. And since I only have this one in here right now, that's going to be the only kind of file that gets pulled into Adtactix when I come up to import and import supplemental data. So you can see here from the prompt that it was imported successfully. Now I'm just going to go over to my Adtactix dashboard, and now I can use this option here to import any of those to the bottom of this list that we may not already have. So we've got that. Now for the fun of it, let's go ahead and just do one Ingram here. So we're going to go to the Labs tab, and this is a pretty advanced feature, but I do like the bigram and trigram. So I'm going to go ahead and hop up to the bigram and expand it. And I'm going to pick just one product here, and then we'll run that with our Ingram analysis build bigram. So you can see what this is going to do. It's going to look at our search term report, and it's actually going to like pull out any 2-word phrases. Even if you have your search terms are really long tail, it's going to look at actually every consecutive 2-word phrase within those and kind of compile the data for us so we can see if there's any 2-word combinations that are just really standing out across our entire search term keyword list. So I'm going to hit yes. And from there, you're going to see the accumulative data. And this is, again, only related to this ASIN. So from here, what I can do in relation to the Adtactix dashboard is basically just use these checkboxes, very similar to the other tools and pick out any of the combinations here. And these may be kind of funnier combinations because, again, they're just taking bits and pieces of each of the long tail phrases and kind of pulling those out and accumulating the data. So it may be keywords that you wouldn't necessarily see in the other tools, search query performance, stuff like that, but you can really create good PPC campaigns because you can launch phrase broad, stuff like that, for example, and have a lot of success in generating even more long tail keywords. So that's kind of the intent here. But you can see same process. You're going to tick the box, then you're going to come up to here and pick, because we're using the bigram, just add selected bigram words, and I'm going to hit yes. All right, so there we go. We've got all of those on there as a pretty good example of all of our kind of options here that we can put in. So now let's talk about how to best use this, some of the sections here that are hidden, and we'll kind of go from there. So first off, I'm going to expand this more info section. And right away, you're going to see a source column. This right here just takes you to the actual search page for this keyword. So that's kind of what that link does. But this one here is going to actually show you where the keywords originated from. And that's going to be the first instance of when they got added to the Adtactix dashboard. So we did like search query performance first. We're going to probably have more search query performance than any because like, for example, the search term report keywords we already added second. If they were already on here, they would have been deduplicated and just shown as search query performance source. So you can kind of just use these columns to help sort and filter the table by, but this one's for where they originated from. This is the date they originated from. Probably the most common use case of this tool is to really help keep up with your search query performance. Importing some of these other data sources is just helpful for looking at the metrics. So like brand analytics, there's a section you'll see that we'll go over that has that data. So in combination of like search query performance, brand analytics, and then I would say, your search term reports, that's probably the most common three. And then the other keyword Dominator, Ingram, those are a bit more advanced. So moving on, you can keep notes in this column. You can kind of tag certain keywords in this column or just use it as another custom column. These aren't going to get overwritten. This column here is actually looked up off your ASIN, so it's pretty important because with the bulk campaign builder, you do need the SKU to generate new campaigns. So this becomes kind of what's used in the campaign if you use the bulk campaign builder feature. One advanced feature I'll tell you about is if you come over to the settings tab, you can put in these first two yellow columns here, a kind of override for your SKU and ASIN, and if you do put something in here, this will be the ultimate SKU that gets populated in the Adtactix dashboard. And why this is important is because you can have like FBA, FBM that has the same ASIN but a different SKU, so you may be wanting to generate campaigns for one or the other. So that's how you would do that, is you would just make sure you have whatever one you're concerned with mapped here in these two columns, and that'll take precedence over kind of what's in this list, which is where the data kind of starts with getting looked up. So yeah, just kind of have a general idea how that works. And that's kind of a reference column there. Nickname, that's going to be, again, based on this section here as well. If you want to have like a product nickname and be able to filter and sort by that pretty quickly, you just need to, again, drop your SKU ASIN list in here and then assign your nickname here, and then all that'll show up in the dashboard. Keyword type, that's just ASIN or keyword, allows you to quickly kind of sort and filter by that. So the yellow priority column here, this is helpful to manually go down through your list here, maybe after sorting or filtering using some of these outline columns, and assign a priority number like 1, 2, 3 based on the relevance to your product. You may find like branded terms and stuff in here as well, so you can kind of come up with your own number scheme. There's also, I'll mention, a keyword Dominator priority rank. So if we come down here to some of this keyword Dominator data that got pulled in with this source import, it's not filled in right here, but when it would be filled in would be if while you were in keyword Dominator, you used this column here and you kind of went through and assigned a priority list. That would get imported here, and that just allows you to quickly copy and paste over to this yellow column a priority scale that you would have assigned there. So that's kind of the idea, is just have one central priority column that you can define, and then you can use it to easily sort and filter by. So the search volume is going to be an estimated number of monthly searches. There's a few different ways to get this column to populate. Number one, if you're watching this video after the first of the year in 2025, we're going to have search volume internally in the ranks tool. So you can see when I get to the ranks tracker, there's a few keywords here that we're tracking. The idea would be if you are tracking those in that tool, the search volume is automatically just going to show up here. Search volume percentage as well, that's a percentage of the grand total of this column, so it just gives you kind of a distribution breakdown. And then if you're not tracking the keyword in ranks, but you do import the Helium 10 data, which again, that's this section I have expanded over here. I'll go down to some examples. You'll see that the search volume from the Helium 10 data is going to get ported in there. So it's basically this column here. That data is going to get shown here, and then you can get an idea here of what the search volume is showing. This should always equal 100 when you total it, so you can see sum of 100. That just again gives you kind of a breakdown of the search volumes. All right, so that's that. The trends here are going to be search query performance data and rank data. So let's see if we've got any that's showing. Yeah, you can kind of see a trend over time there. The rank data is from the ranks tracker tool. So that's where you're going to see kind of ups and downs there. And that's going to be over the past 30 days. All right, so keep that minimized. The keyword dominator data, there's some interesting columns here that you can sort and filter by and just get a good idea on your target keyword list there, what's going to be the best keywords and kind of phased approach of launching them. So going over the columns really quick, you can hover over these. Obviously, the CPR's good for launches, and it's good for just trying to figure out a rank strategy. It's going to be the estimated number of units that you need to sell over 8 days to try to rank in that top half of page 1. So keep an eye on this, and don't forget you do have to divide that by, say, the number 8 to figure out a daily estimate there. So we may actually add that column just as a quick calculation, but just know that that's what that is. The search volume I mentioned here, it's going to be the number of monthly searches as given by the Cerebro export that you did in Keyword Dominator. Again, that's this that we covered with the Adtactix kind of export there. One other trick I'll show you is we do have some users that want to import kind of their own internal keyword tracking tools, search volume, stuff like that. You can use the hidden sheet, it's KWD, to manually populate this. So you can see you just need the target keyword list column with the keyword in there, and then the search volume. That's how you would use another search volume type tool to get that data in the Adtactix dashboard. All right, and then you could, I guess, fill in some of these other columns too in that hidden sheet if for some reason you wanted to just kind of know that that's there and hidden behind the scenes. The keyword dominator rank, that's just going to be the rank for your ASIN for your product as given by Cerebro. The IQ score, the higher the score, kind of the better. It means that there's more number of searches compared to competitors, the higher the score. Search volume trend, that's going to be the trend of the search volume month to month. The number of sponsored ASINs, that's kind of interesting, gives you an idea of how many competitors are running sponsored ads on that keyword. So the lower, probably the better there. The competitive products per keyword, that's going to be how many competitive sellers there are for these searches. So again, probably the lower, the better. From a competitive standpoint. Amazon recommended, that means if Amazon is recommending these keywords internally within Seller Central, Helium 10 represents that with the number 1. 0 just means they've gotten these keywords from somewhere else. So if you quickly filter this by the number 1s, you can kind of get an idea of all the keywords that Amazon's telling you to use and advertise. The other thing I'll mention, if you want to import all of these keywords, like there's 381 in Keyword Dominator, you just would have ticked all of these boxes and exported that. It would have given you probably a lot more data for some of these keywords above. Like if I expand this, you can see these are not Keyword Dominator sources. They had been imported previously. But this data is populating because it was in our Keyword Dominator export. So if you can envision exporting the entire Keyword Dominator Adtactix export, you'd have more data to use up above here where some of it's blank at this point. So just kind of keep that in mind. The title density, that's the number of times, or I'm sorry, the number of page one products where this search term showing up in the title in exact phrase form. So that's really a good metric to filter by, especially if the lower the number there, the easier it's going to be to rank. All right, these two columns are brand analytics columns. This is your click share and conversion share. Keep in mind, we've got a brand analytics section here we're going to talk about next. So there's some overlap here with some of the columns, but keep in mind they're different kind of data sources. This section here is straight from Amazon that you can export kind of on demand, where this is Helium 10's brand analytics data, which is going to have delay, probably a week to maybe multi-week delay. And it's a little bit different as well. So just kind of keep in mind, you've got different kind of sources going on. Anytime you're talking about brand analytics, though, it's going to be related to the top 3 products in that for that search term. So this is going to just give you the top 3 products cumulative click share, likewise cumulative conversion share, and then this keyword sales column's pretty nice. It's derived from the brand analytics data along with some other data points that they track, but they're trying to estimate per keyword how many sales that this is attributed to for each keyword. And it's going to be a number of units. So obviously the higher the better, as long as your keyword is highly related to your product. So if you don't have access to this column within Helium 10, I think it's only available in their Diamond plan. So you can upgrade to their Diamond plan. We do have a link in our members area for a big discount there. You can also subscribe to our Scale Assisted plan, where we actually manage all of Adtactix and maintain the data for you. So we can help populate all this data for you. And then you're only responsible for actually uploading any of the export files to your account and kind of tweaking things. So had a lot of users with a lot of good feedback in that plan. So check that out on our homepage. The minimum bid, maximum bid, those are just going to be the PPC suggested bids from Helium 10's data. And then we briefly touched on the Keyword Dominator priority column there. And if there is some additional columns here, after I make this video, we'll probably likely add some more. You can just hover over the headers here and kind of get an idea of what those are. So next up is brand analytics. Again, it's going to be very similar to kind of these 2 data points here, but these are data points that we're directly downloading kind of on demand via this brand analytics top performers or top search terms report. So again, if you want to download and show data in this section, you just need to watch this tutorial here and it'll walk you through how to download that. Going back though, you can see it's giving us a few extra data points here in addition to our top 3 conversion share and click share. So it's giving us our ASIN conversion share, if that's showing up in the top 3, which you can see kind of here in colored format. If you see a green, blue, or orange highlighted, that means it's your product, where, if it's not, it means just it's a competitor, and you can hover over and jump to that product if you want to see it. Search frequency rank, that's a search volume related type of number. The lower, actually, the better. So it's more of kind of a relative metric across different search terms, but it is straight from Amazon, so it does give you a good relative comparison. So again, lower the number on search frequency rank is going to be higher search volume. All right. And then you've got the same type of deal for your click share. If your ASIN is in the top 3, it's giving you that singular value, where these, the bold ones, are the actual totals of all 3 together. So what's an interesting metric to filter by is if you take the difference between 100% and the top 3 total conversion share, and that gives you kind of an other conversion share. So the higher value in this other column, the better. From a ranking standpoint, that means it's going to be easier to rank because the top 3 competitors really aren't hogging up as much conversion share. So try filtering once you have your list built out by this value here, and you can get some valuable insight. So pretty simple there. Now the search query commander and impression share data, this is going to be where there's a lot of insights you can gather. And typically I like to start out with recent week and then kind of shift to the sum of the weeks. As you import the data, it's going to kind of accumulate depending on what you've downloaded. And again, we recommend the Chrome extension for importing this data, which you'll find again in that supplemental import video I keep referring to. But check that video out to learn how to populate this. As far as the columns are concerned, you've got search query score. So this is going to be the lower the better. This Amazon's basically telling you out of the list of search queries, the lower numbers are going to be your more popular search terms and the best ones to target. Search query volume, this is Amazon's attempt at search page search volumes. So you can kind of correlate this to some of the other search volume metrics that are in the sheet and just kind of filter and sort it by. Impression share, that's going to be your impression share versus the markets. Click share, very similar, your click share versus the markets. Add to cart, very similar. Purchase share, your purchase share of your ASIN for this search term versus the markets. And then you've got the number of purchases of the market, number of purchases for your product. And then we kind of pull in the orders just next to it so you can kind of get a comparison there. Now, keep in mind, this file has a lot of demo data in it. So if you're like looking at this and you're like, oh, those numbers don't make sense, well, that's because it's just very dummy data. All right. The click-through rate and conversion rate sections within Search Query Commander and kind of your impression share, talking about all of that together. These two columns that are colored, they're really important because if you see a blue and a green, it basically means you are beating both the click-through rate and the conversion rate versus the market. So these are going to be the ones where you can really quickly scale, potentially if you have, especially if you have a lower search term impression share. So that's kind of where we outline these next. So you can kind of sort, filter, and then look at your impression shares. If you have low impression shares, those are going to be really money keywords because Amazon, this data is straight from Amazon. It's telling you that these are performing very well for you, and you're not spending enough to get a high enough impression share. So there's a lot of options there. You can target these keywords in other ad types. You can target these keywords in other placements, and you can obviously up your budget, up your bids to try to increase your impression share for these keywords. We've also got kind of some logic built in here it's really based on these two columns. If they're both positive, if one is positive, if one is negative, if both are negative, it can give you some kind of insights there. They're not meant to be any like golden rule. It's just, more so just to quickly sort and filter and at a glance kind of get some insight. All right. These here are going to be trends over time in your search query performance data. So if you start to import, weeks worth compounding through the year, this is going to show a more detailed trend. Rank trend is from your ranks tracker. All right. And then the impression share for both sponsored products and brands, they both have a rank and a share. So again, they function similar to your search query score. The lower the number here on your impression rank, the better. That means you're taking up more, impression rank versus the competition. And the impression share gives you the actual percentage there. So again, a very quick kind of filter that you can do to uncover really good opportunities. Basically just toggle this to improve traffic. That's going to show you anything that's positive for both your click-through rate and conversion rate deltas versus the market, and then sort your impression shares like A to Z, and that's going to put your lower ones towards the top. Okay, so that's pretty much that. Now, I will mention one other metric here just because it gets confused a lot with impression share, and that is on the bid override table. So if we hop over to the bid override table, and if you're curious about the bid override table, the version that is live in the members area, there'll be a training video like right here, and it'll just kind of show you how to use this table. But the metric I want to mention is the top of search impression share. That's different than your sponsor product, sponsor brands impression share. The top of search impression share is specific to a keyword within an ad group within a campaign that you can get very detailed, and that is brought in through Adtactix with the targets export. So check that out in this video here to learn how to populate that. This metric's not going to show up on the Adtactix dashboard because a lot of these keywords we're not even running in PPC campaigns right now. So the bid override table, when we start talking about the top of search impression share, is where you're going to want to focus there. Now you do have in the bid override table, not to jump around too much, but you have the similar data sets here like we have in the Adtactix dashboard. So we've got all of this helpful data in multiple places now to just really make it easy and efficient to manage your bids. Okay. All right, so that's that section. Now we're going to start talking about some of the use cases and common applications for the Adtactix dashboard. The first one is if you just want to know, hey, am I actively even running ads right now on this ASIN with this keyword? You know, you can put in a list, you can manually dump these in as well. And just quickly check, and that's literally what the active checker means. It's basically going to give you a number of how many times you're actively targeting that keyword in each match type. So if you do see a number other than the number 1, it means you're running and targeting that keyword multiple times for that match type, and you may want to remove or pause one of those. That's actually what this dupe checker does when you hop into your bulk sheets and run that operation. It helps you uncover those, and you can just easily pause the one that's, or maybe it's multiple that aren't performing as well as your top performer. So that's kind of what this section does. You can see it also does like the broad modifier, so that's helpful. And then you can also see in sponsored brands and sponsored display. So that's super helpful. So those kind of keep collapsed and expanded just like that, and then you get a cumulative total here just kind of in the collapsed simple view. All right, and then similarly you've got the performance, so you're going to have a combined total section here, and you can toggle this just changes the kind of simplified metric there if you want to change that. So this gives you the total ad performance across all 3 ad types, and then you've got everything split out here as well. So again, this is kind of used in conjunction with all these other sections to help you sort, filter, and decide which products and which keywords make sense to start launching next in campaigns. All right, and then we get to probably one of the more widely used features of the Adtactix dashboard, and that's actually creating sponsored products campaigns really quickly. We will be adding the other sponsor brands and display here relatively soon, but in the version that's released right now in this video, it's just for sponsored products. So you can do either ASIN targeting or keyword targeting. So if you want to do ASINs, you would just plug in the ASIN here under the keyword section, and you can quickly do that. So just to kind of give you a very dumbed down example of how you might go about this, let's go back to the examples we were talking about before, where we want to improve our traffic. So, you know, one way to improve traffic is obviously to advertise for it. All right, and then let's sort this A to Z. Now I could spend some time going through and like analyzing this data really close and maybe adding some priorities to really figure things out. But for the sake of this demo, I'm just going to kind of do some dummy examples. So first off, let's figure out ones that we're not even advertising for. So we're going to go to the active checker section, and I'm just going to, looks like we've got a lot of these in exact already. Well, not down here. So let's filter this for blanks. And let's say we want to do some single keyword campaigns. That's maybe a little bit better. All right. Especially for some of these that we're really doing well for. All right. So let's filter. Well, these are already blank anyway. All right. So those are good. So basically what we've just done is said, hey, I want to see all the keywords I'm not actively targeting in exact. And I'm in fact going to build these single keyword campaigns. So now we know the keywords we've got left over here we're not actively targeting. So that's kind of step one. I'm going to collapse that now. All right, and I'll go ahead and collapse this too. We'll just generically add some to single keyword campaigns. So when I'm talking about single keyword campaigns, I actually want to change some of the settings in the defaults here. This is actually not going to be checked. So it'll be like that. You may want to check that, and that's going to put the keyword actually in the title. You may want to add a campaign counter as well. That'll just ensure that all the campaign names are unique. And you may want to tweak some of these variables. I'm going to leave them set like this by default. I've also got the date set. All right, so once you kind of have that established, you can also set up some criteria here. Let's pretend I want to do top of search with a 35% modifier to start out with. And let's pretend I want to put my budget at $20 for whatever reason. All right, and if you had a portfolio, you could put the portfolio ID, not the name, it's a numerical value there. Let's go ahead and just do an example. So I'm gonna say this ID, and we'll pop that here. All right, next step is we're gonna go back, and I'm going to say, all right, I want to build out campaigns for, let's just do one product at a time. You could do multiple products, but some users will get confused. So let's just do this one here for R. Okay. So let's do a bunch here. And this column here, what you want to do is if you want them all in the same campaign, so that would not be single ASIN, you would put the number 1 and you would drag that down. Since they're all number 1s, it means they're all going in the same campaign. But we said we wanted to build single ASIN structured keyword campaigns. So I'm going to do it like this. So now it's going to build 25 single ASIN single keyword campaigns with one ad group. Now let's pretend for the sake of this example, we also wanted to do a multi-phrase campaign. So here we would just drag that down and keep the number the same in this case. Now keep in mind, because I turned on the single keyword campaign mode, it's really going to make this campaign for the phrase look really stupid, and we'll just manually override kind of what it comes up with. So likewise, you could do something very similar with the broad, but for the sake of this example, I'm just going to leave it like this. Now I'm going to come up to Adtactix, create PPC campaigns. And if you could envision going down through this, and maybe a week before you had already planned out what you were going to launch, your VA could come in and very easily execute this process. All right, so when you get to this page here, you do have to do the keywords independently from the ASINs, from the ASIN targeting. So in this case, we're doing all keywords, and I'll just hit the number 1. You'll see it's going to reset my campaign builder here and start to populate the campaigns. Every column in the bulk campaign builder here is a separate campaign. All right, so once that is done, you can see our summary down here. We do have one phrase, 25 exact. If we scroll over here, you can see our phrase, how the keywords get added there with a carriage return in the single cell. If you wanted to manually add any, you hit Control Enter within the cell, and that advances you down a line. So just kind of know how that works. You can see how it changed our match types and set our SKU. Everything's kind of done for us based on the dashboard there. All right, and next step is we're just going to update our names by clicking this button here. That's going to change all of these variables that are preset that we have off our settings tab. So you can see now we've got the match type, the ASIN, and that corresponds to this order here that we had specified. Keep in mind the keyword there, that's because single keyword campaign mode was ticked. And I mentioned that it's going to mess up the name in this one here, and you can see it added literally all the keywords. So what you can do here is just come in and maybe you change this to multi-keyword. You can manually kind of override that. Likewise, you could manually override the ad group name as well if you wanted, but after you're happy with it, as long as you don't see any red means you've got a duplicate campaign name somewhere. You should be good. There's also some validation for the length of campaign names. I think it's like 144 characters or something. So if you do have campaign names that are too long, you're going to get an error prompt when you try to create your upload file here in just a second. So those would be kind of the only two things to watch out for. I did mention if you wanted to add negations, you could do that at this point. You just literally pick the negate type. These are going to be ad group level negations, and you can do campaign level down here. But you just add the negative keywords in the same fashion that you do here, and those will just be negatives. All right, you can see it's adding them to our portfolio as well. You do have to have the portfolio created in Campaign Manager before it's going to show up in the Portfolios tab here. So anyway, after you have all that set up and how you want it, you just come up here, create campaign upload file. In this case, it's sponsored products. All right, and there you go. This is going to be the file that's formatted correctly to upload to Amazon, and this will add the new campaigns with the keywords in your account. You can see column T here. This is going to be our keyword level bid. You may want to change this bid if you have like a multi-keyword campaign, if you have certain keywords that you want to bid higher. Keep an eye out too. There will be a feature that we're releasing soon that will allow you to specify the initial bid. It'll likely be a column here close to the campaign builder, and you'll pick that off based on the performance. So typically like the CPC, or if you remember, we've got the suggested bids here. You may end up using one of those, but keep an eye out for a feature there. I don't have it ready in this video, and I wanted to make sure I got this out. So if there is a field there, it will just be called starting bid, and you'll be able to just assign that bid, and then that bid then would become the target level bid in your output file. Okay. And then similar to all the other exports, you're just going to come and click export to Google Drive, export sponsored products file. That gets sent now to your export files folder, and then you would just upload that. So I'll hit yes. And you can see this is the one that was just generated, and this one is the one that we would upload back. And the spot there is right here. You can skip over 1 and 2 and just go to number 3 there, hit choose file, and then you pick the upload file and you're good to go. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. And I mentioned the ASIN targeting. It's the exact same process, except you would only filter for ASINs. And you've got the filter here for the type, so you can kind of use that to quickly differentiate between keywords. All right, and then the last section we haven't talked about yet is the ranks tracker. So to refresh this data, if you're seeing some missing days, you just need to go up and check this button here and click on that. That'll on demand kind of sync it. And you do have to have the ranks tool set up and the link put in here. So you need to have the entire URL from the ranks tool. So there's some training in the members area regarding ranks, so you'll learn how to kind of set that up. It's pretty simple. But once that starts populating, you can just add any ASIN and keyword combinations to ranks, and then that's gonna be able to easily be imported to various tools we have, Adtactix just being one of them that uses that data. But anyway, with that data in here, you can kind of change the start date here. You can change between organic and sponsored, and you can just set the dashboard metric here that shows up in the simplified view. So pretty simple. Real quick, I was just editing this and realized I forgot to mention about the 2 kind of buttons up here at the top. So the first one here is just a clear kind of reset the dashboard operation. So you can see if I have a filter applied, it's going to reset it kind of to its default state. If I hit that, it should also give me a prompt here if I'd like to clear the checkboxes. That's related to the bulk campaign builder. So if I click no, it's going to keep them still checked. If I click yes, it's going to clear those out. So that can be kind of helpful if needed. And now you can see I'm kind of looking at the entire list of keywords as opposed to any filtered ranges. The other one here is just a sync button. This is kind of an on-demand sync. You will need to click this potentially if you clear the used sheets and you come into the tool the next time to kind of use it. So it is going to sync everything automatically if you use any of these kind of quick operations here. But let's say you add manual keywords and you want to kind of pull in and check some of this outline data for those. You may need to click that button if you're not seeing the data there. That just again syncs kind of everything together and make sure that all the data is populated. So I just wanted to kind of let you know those 2 things are there, and that's it. All right, so I think that about does it for what I wanted to cover here on the Adtactix dashboard. Hopefully after watching this video, you can see the power and the efficiency gains that you might be able to get by better keyword planning. I will say over the many sellers that we work with, the number one thing that I see that sellers don't do is continuously launch new keywords, and that's one of the biggest low-hanging fruits that you can have is uncovering keywords and launching those campaigns that rocket you up with a top-performing campaign. So you just need to keep testing, be strategic in the data that you're analyzing to launch those campaigns. And I hope that the Adtactix Dashboard really helps you out. So see you on the next one. Cheers.